Hello, this is RICKY, the Android guy, and this is our special Q&A on the Galaxy S5. Today I'm just going to be answering any and all questions that you have on the Galaxy S5. Nothing else, we're just talking about this device, and any questions you may have, ask me in the comment section down below. If you have any others, you can email me at asktheandroidguy@gmail.com, and I can answer them at next week's Android Weekly. Android Weekly, we go over the news as well as any questions you may have. But today it's all about the S5, and I just wanted to answer any questions that you guys had about it. So if you do have questions, feel free to ask them in the comment section down below, and I will get to them as soon as I can. So I did get 2 emails, and they're essentially the same thing, but let's make them separate. And again, if you have a question, ask it in the comment section down below. So Matthew Capron asked, is it worth upgrading to the Galaxy S5 from the Galaxy S4? So I have both of these devices, and the question, is it worth upgrading? I would say it depends on the person. If you do need to have the latest and greatest, obviously you're going to upgrade. But let's just go on the basics. So what are the differences between the S4 and the S5? So that's really simple. Whenever anyone asks me this, I break it down into 3 simple upgrades. And the first upgrade that I would say is definitely one of the biggest is the water resistance. The fact that, I can splash this with water, get it all wet, have it all water all over it, doesn't matter. And I could throw this, and water resistance is really good on this device. We've seen it actually go into a pool for an hour, and it survived, which Samsung only certifies it for half an hour, but we've seen, if you Google Galaxy S5 Ultimate Water Test, we've seen it go in the pool for an hour, and it went in the washing machine for an hour, which is just insane that it was able to survive both. And the Galaxy S5 did survive both. So the fact that it has survived that is a huge plus. That you have water resistance built into this device, it is really big when it comes to it. So the fact that you can survive it, how does that say? Yeah, there you can see it. That's one of the big things that I would say is going to be different about this device. From the S4 to the S5, water resistance. Second big thing is ultra power saving mode. So the ultra power saving mode, for those of you who don't know, gives you a ridiculous amount of battery. So at 92%, I would get 11.5 days. So that's ridiculous. And from the S4, it didn't have that kind of option. That's a really big improvement from the S4 to the S5 that a lot of people, I would say, would enjoy. And I've used that mode, honestly, this past week. I've used it 3 times. And the times when you want to use it is really simple. The times when you use ultra power saving mode is when you get off of work, you forgot didn't charge your phone, or your phone's like at 50% or 40%, or say it's even down to 20%. You put this mode on and you have a phone for the rest of the night. That is a great feeling to have, and something you don't have with the S4 that you have on the S5. So that feature alone, to me, is a really big deal, because there's been those times when everyone's had an emergency mode, then they freak out because they're like, "Oh my God, I need to charge my phone." And if you don't have a charger, you're screwed. With this, you always have a phone and text messaging. And I mentioned this on the ultra power save mode video, but basically, I got 4.5 hours at 7%. No one can say that. No one can say that. I got 4.5 hours at a 7% battery life with ultra power saving mode. That's the second big reason I would say it's worth it to go with the S4, the S5, because you don't worry about battery life, and that's a huge difference to me. And the third thing is the camera. The camera is worlds apart, just completely apart. I don't care what anyone says; it's a complete difference. And we will do a side-by-side camera comparison, obviously, coming up. I've started to take some photos already between the two, because I want the S4, the S5, and the Note 3 in a camera comparison. And of course, I just got the HTC One, so we're going to compare those two as well. So this comparison will be coming. There will be a smackdown between these two, and we will see which one's best. But yeah, so with the S5, I would say for those three reasons, water resistance, battery life, and camera, it's worth upgrading from the S4 if you have an upgrade available. If you're on a jump program, edge program, next program, family program, it's worth upgrading out to, I would say, definitely, yes. Um, I'm a person that needs I'm a techie, I've always wanted a new phone every year. So even if I didn't have this S5, would I be upgrading to it this year? Yes. If I still had my S4, if I was on my S4 and I saw the S5 come out, there's not a shadow of a doubt that I would buy it. However, I am a real heavy power user, so I would wait for the 32 gig, which I'm waiting for. Verizon, please get it already. I want my 32 gig. All right, so that was the first question from Matthew. The second question is from Chris Barnes, and he asks, would you say the Galaxy S5 is an incremental upgrade? If your answer is yes, why would you upgrade from the S4? So we answered the question of why would you upgrade from the S4 in the last question, but would I say it's an incremental upgrade? It really depends, because I'm not sure if you meant the incremental as a negative, or as, that it's or was it incremental or significant upgrade? Were those the two? If so, here's my thought on it. So I would say the S5 is a significant upgrade. I would say that. However, it's things that people don't realize till they have the phone, and we haven't seen Samsung's marketing yet. There's been no amazing commercial on the Galaxy S5 yet, so we haven't seen their marketing and just kind of go at it, and so that's a big difference. Now here's the thing with that. Because we haven't seen any marketing, I feel that people don't know the difference between the S4 and the S5. Because I swear, like, when I've been at a store, I've heard people ask that, like, what's the difference between the S4 and the S5? And a lot of people don't know. So, as I just mentioned, water resistance, ultra power saving mode, and camera, freaking, I'm done. Those are completely worth it to me to upgrade. But there is a lot of other things that people don't realize yet. For one, the video quality. Being able to film 60 frames per second, which was on the Note 3, it was not on the S4. That is a huge improvement in video quality. So that's another feature. There's a lot of little add-ons. So if you're on T-Mobile, you have Download Booster, which Download Booster allows you to use Wi-Fi and LTE at the same time. That's insane. That's insane. It really is impressive that I can use Wi-Fi and LTE at the same time to download much quicker. And if I'm on unlimited, like you would be if you're on T-Mobile, you can literally download stuff so much faster than ever before. No other phone in the world can do that. Period. No other phone in the world can do that right now, except for the S5. So I think to me that's an insane feature that I love. You have little things that are little extras and everything like that, like private mode, for example, and kids mode. Private mode lets you hide any kind of photo, video, document, memo from everyone else. And you can't get into it unless you use like the fingerprint scanner. So you have to swipe with a fingerprint scanner, and then you can get into private mode. And that's what I use the fingerprint scanner for, because a lot of people will wonder, oh, does the fingerprint scanner work? How does the fingerprint scanner work? Does it work all the time? I can pretty much confidently say the fingerprint scanner works about 90% of the time. So it works most of the time. Sometimes it doesn't work, which, maybe it might be like Apple's, where it didn't work for a while until they got the update. Now it works a lot better than it did when it first came out. Because when it first came out, it was about 50-50 kind of thing. And then, so finally, you also have kids mode. If you have kids mode is a huge thing. The fact that you can lock your phone down for your kids to use, you can choose which apps they use, you can see what apps they're using, you can see how they're browsing the internet, you can see all of this. That's a really big thing for parents. So there is a lot of features. Toolbox, there's a lot of little features. And if you want to know those little features, check out my 10 best features on the Galaxy S5 video, and check out my 10 hidden features on the Galaxy S5 video. Because there's a lot. There really is a lot. And I think once the marketing comes behind it, that's when people are going to start realizing, wow, this is a big upgrade, actually. If you really think about it, it is a big upgrade. And Um, now, I feel like this question is going to be asked, so I will answer it ahead of time. If I have the Note 3, should I get the S5? This is a very different situation. So, to my answer earlier, yes, if you have an S4, you should upgrade to an S5. It's a big difference. But a Note 3 to an S5, that's an interesting one. So this is my answer because a lot of people have asked me this. Should I upgrade from the Note 3 to the S5? I say this. I say go with the screen size you want. And here's why I say that. Because if you the S5 does have a better camera. Plain and simple. It does have a better camera. It has a better screen. It can get brighter and darker than the Note 3 screen, and it's clearer than the Note 3 screen. So it has that going for it. It has a way better camera. It's water resistant. The Note 3 doesn't have that feature. So these are some features that the S5 is better than. The Note 3 has a better battery life. For my experience, however, the S5 just got rated the top battery life in the US. If you missed that, I have the article on my Android Q&A that was just aired, and that you can catch on that video. But yeah, I have the statistics all right there. The S5 was actually just rated as the top battery life in the US. So what the reason why I say the best screen is the best way to go is because of this. If you like these features on the S5, then you know when it's a year for the Note 3 and the Note 4 comes out, you know, probably around September, October, November, some point between then, we will get a Note 4. When that phone comes out, guess what? You're going to be like, man, why did I upgrade to the S5? Now I want this Note 4. So I would say if you're a fan of the Note series, wait for the new Note. If you're a fan of the S series and you like that screen size better, then go with the S series. But that's how I usually divide the two. If you're a fan of the S series, go with the S series. If you're a fan of the Note series, then go with the Note series. But that's how I usually recommend it. If you have a Note 3 and you're thinking about getting an S5, answer yourself that question. Do I like the screen size on the Note better than the S5? If you do, then stick with the Note. Okay, now I'll answer in the comment section down below. Question: does the micro PKTV ask? Question: does the micro SD cards work on the S5 since it runs KitKat? Because it didn't on the Note 3. I got KitKat. It doesn't on the micro SD. Is useless. Yes, it completely works, and my Note 3 hasn't got KitKat yet, but I don't see why that would stop working. There was another person that asked this on the Q&A in our last episode that, 4.4.2 KitKat doesn't allow apps to be run on micro SD card. Yes, it does. It completely does. On the Note 3, or sorry, not on the Note 3, on the S5 that I have right here, it runs 4.4.2 KitKat. SD card can put apps on it very easily. So I'm not sure if this is a problem with certain ones. Maybe it's the global edition. Maybe it's the one in where you live. I've seen your comments before, PKTV. I believe you live in Australia. I'm not sure if it's just that, but yeah, I've had no problems with putting apps on my SD card. For those of you who don't know, if you have an Android 4.0 and 4.1 device, you cannot put apps on the micro SD card in those situations. It's just not available. The reason Android did that was because putting apps on the micro SD card was causing a lot of crashes. So their solution for that was, hey, you know, we're gonna stop that. You cannot put apps on the micro SD card. Well, consumers got very upset, and to Samsung's credit, they were actually the ones that kept the SD card while everyone went away from an SD card. That's why if you see last year, no one had a micro SD card but Samsung devices. LG, HTC, Motorola, they all stopped having micro SD cards. Guess what? Consumers bought a lot more Samsung devices, and one of the main reasons we heard was because of that. Was because of, you know, consumers wanted a micro SD card slot. So then LG, HTC at the end of the year, and Motorola hasn't yet actually, but we'll see with their new guidance under Lenovo, all put micro SD cards back on the devices. And they're like, oh my god, no, we need to put the micro SD cards back. And that's what happened. So Android 4.2 actually allowed you to move apps back to the micro SD card. And so 4.2, 4.4, or 4.3, and 4.4 all allow you to put apps on the micro SD card. Now again, I'm not sure if there was an update with KitKat that messed it up for certain phones on the Note 3, but I mean on the S5, I have KitKat running on here 4.4.2, which is currently the latest edition, and it doesn't have a problem with apps on the micro SD card. So again, I'm not sure what that issue is, but that is a known issue, I guess, going on right now because there's been multiple people that have asked me about this, and that's what has kind of transpired. Just checking to see if anyone else left any questions on all these message boards and everything. So no one else has put a question. It seems like at this point might be a short Q&A. So yes. So yes. Nope, that wasn't a question. Yeah, no more questions. All right. Let me try to think of questions for you guys. What is my favorite feature on the Galaxy S5? How about that? What is my favorite feature on the Galaxy S5? The camera. The camera would be my favorite feature by far. I love this camera. It really, for those of you who haven't watched me for a while, I used to be a photographer back in the day, so the fact that it has things like instant HDR and selective focus, I really like. You know, there's certain things, and the freaking studio. So this device has a studio. It's amazing. A studio is essentially their photo editor. Their photo editor is just awesome. It really is, and I can't say that enough because it really is impressive how good their photo editor is. It essentially allows you to do a bunch of stuff. So try and get a photo. So like I was editing this photo because it was really cool. I had met one of my just people that I've looked up to on YouTube for a while, Nice Peter today. So I met him at a Best Buy. I was like, Nice Peter, that's Nice Peter. He does epic rap battles. So I met him, and it was really cool. So I was editing this photo, and like the things you could do on this photo, like for a portrait, you can. I'm going to do a video on this, but you can like airbrush the person, brighten their face, get rid of red eye, do autofocus. You can decorate it from writing to putting like stickers to putting framing to putting like a label above someone's face. So if I wanted to put like ERB above it, I could do that. The effects are really, really cool, but you can also personalize them. So what I mean by that is you can essentially just quickly, you can personalize it so only certain sections are have the effects instead of like how in Instagram you can only take part of it, you can only take the whole tint. On here you can really personalize it more. You can do everything from contrast to hue to brightness on the editing on there. You can crop and you can resize the image too right away, which is really cool because you can resize how big of a file size it is, which is a really nice feature to be able to do just right built in on it. If you select multiple photos, you can actually also do. By the way, how you get to Studio is just when you select the photos, you can just hit Studio, and this is the kind of stuff you can do on Studio. So you can do photo editing. Sorry if you guys can't see it. You can do photo editing. You can do Collage Studio. You can edit video clip. So Video Clip Studio is kind of like HTC Zoe. It's basically the same thing. You're putting together a bunch of photos. You can do effects on each of them and then edit it with music. And then Collage Shot, it gets you this whole thing where you can move the layout and change it and all that kind of stuff. You can add different effects to it too, which is pretty cool. So you can kind of mess around with all these different effects for it. So really cool in how you can do that. So there's just a lot. So the camera is my favorite feature by far on it. Oh, we got some more questions now. So yeah, for those of you who want to know, the camera is my best feature definitely. All right, Wayne, you have asked a lot of questions, so let me try to get to all of them. Should the download booster be used depending on what data plan you have to avoid using up all your data? Yes. So Download Booster is actually in the U.S. It's exclusive to T-Mobile right now. My guess is Sprint's going to add it because they talk all about unlimited, having unlimited data. So there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to do that. So my girlfriend is calling me right now. I have to decline our call. So they should be allowing you to do it. It's just it doesn't make sense for Sprint not to allow you to use Download Booster as well. But yeah, I think Download Booster wasn't brought on AT&T and Verizon for this very reason because they didn't want people to go over their data, and then they would incur overages, and then they would make a bunch of excuses like, oh well, I didn't know I went over my data and all this kind of stuff, and that's why I think it was taken off. Is there any improvement to S Voice on the S5? You know what? On the Note 3, it was a lot better than on the S4. And on the S5, I will do a video on S Voice. I have used it very little, and I think one of the main reasons that is because of the fact that I haven't been able to use it really as much because I'm such a Google Now fan, and the fact that I have Google Now on my main screen now, where I can just say, okay, Google, call my girlfriend.
Mobile or home?
Mobile. The fact that I can do that is so nice, and that's something I can't do on S Voice. So, meaning that I can say girlfriend instead of her name. So that is one thing that I definitely like Google Now more. I think Google Now is so much better. But I will promise I have not used S Voice as in depth as every other feature on this phone, but I definitely will. How is the color reproduction on the Galaxy S5? Is it oversaturated like other Galaxies, or is it closer to natural colors? So, good question, Wayne. Actually, the Galaxy S5 is more accurate than any LCD screen out there. And this is something that a lot of people don't know, and I feel like, man, these techies on YouTube do not understand this. Because I can't tell you how many of these technology websites, and I obviously won't name names, but just don't understand that you have different modes for color. And when DisplayMate tested out, actually, they just voted the S5 the best screen in all smartphones. And the reason is because it actually has the most accurate color spectrum on professional photo. So let me point this out to you so you know how to get to this. When you go to display under settings, and you go to screen mode, if you go to professional photo, guess what? This is now more accurate. Let me turn the brightness down on the HTC. Okay. This is now more accurate than this. This is actually more saturated now than these colors are. So that is a clear and it's been proven. So you can't argue with it. You cannot argue with it. You're like, oh, LCD is more true, and that's why whites are whites and all. No, no, no. This, if you have a white background on both, the S5 gives you a more accurate representation of the color spectrum. However, for those of us like me that like more vibrant colors that don't mind oversaturation, then yes, you can actually do that instead and go into dynamic mode. Dynamic is different. It's more vibrant in colors than what you normally have. So that's the difference between them. How is the battery life in the Galaxy S5? So this is actually a question that is interesting for me. See, the unit I was sent was an international version. So international versions have a hard time getting signal in the US. It's always that way. Like when I had my international Note 3 that I was sent before I bought my Note 3 for Verizon, there was a difference in battery life. My Note 3 for Verizon kicks the international one's ass, again because of the signal was hard to get it. So the S5 from my experience has had good battery life, better than the S4, but it's hard for me to it's hard for me to give a just answer for that reason, because if I had the US version, I would be having a different experience with battery life than what I do now. It is, even the international version though is better than the US version of the S4. So that in itself gives you a good indicator that yes, it's a really good battery life. So yeah, that is the best way I can answer it without kind of messing it up for accuracy. But I mean, it's definitely been better than the S4. How is it compared to the Note 3? I would really want to have a US version before being able to answer that question. Statistically, it actually just beat on my last video that I just did, which I believe you were on there, Wayne, Glass Glow. The last video I just did explained that yes, the S5 is now the top-rated battery life in the U.S. It actually matched the iPad Air, which is insane for a phone to match a tablet, but it's the best in the U.S. right now. So that's it. All right, I'm waiting for other questions to be asked in the comments section, but I did get another email. And in the email, I will answer these questions. This is from Colin, who asks, how's TouchWiz on the Galaxy S5 better than on the Galaxy S4? Or, oh, is it better improvement? Yes. Oh my God, yes. Okay, so for one thing, because a lot of people ask me, okay, is it faster than the Note 3? Yes, the Galaxy S5 is faster than the Note 3, but I don't really believe it's the processor, although the processor is better. It's a 2.5 Snapdragon 801 processor versus the Snapdragon 800 processor on the Note 3 that was 2.3. Really, the key difference is more so from TouchWiz. TouchWiz is a lot faster on this device by far compared to TouchWiz on the Note 3 or even on the Pro tablets. This is the fastest TouchWiz that I've ever been. There is no device that has this version of TouchWiz. The Pro tablets that came out after the Note 3 is the closest thing to it, but even they aren't as quick as this. This is insanely quick, and this is just awesome. It's awesome. So yeah, it's improved dramatically. I think it's only getting better, which is really nice. I mean, it's what it should be, right? We should be getting a faster OS each time. And yes, so TouchWiz is getting better, yes. And it's not as invasive. I don't know about this settings menu. I have issues with it at times. So I would say, like, because you can change it to a tab view. I think I might go to this because I don't really care for just how like the whole thing is laid out like that. Or you can change it to the grid view, which is the normal one, and you can change it to a flat-out list view, which is just all of the apps right there. I think I like the tab view the most. It splits it up. I would say the best, but that's the only thing I'm kind of iffy on is their settings section. All right, Clone also asked, is it confusing to use recent apps button over the old menu button? So here's the thing. Nexus devices have been like this. Nexus devices have had a menu button. They said screw the menu button, and they've had the recent apps button instead. So that is what Nexus devices have, and since I've used Nexus devices, as well as since my Pro tablet over here has the same kind of thing. So my Pro tablet has the same kind of thing where it's a multi button instead of that too. So I am used to it. However, would a new person getting a Samsung device be confused? Absolutely, absolutely. It's something that isn't the easiest to learn, I would say, and definitely I think a lot of people will have issues with it on that. So I would say that that's going to be one of the biggest things that I would say is going to be, yeah, it's an issue. I mean, but the thing is, it's a menu button. So if you guys haven't seen it, I actually did do a video called Menu Button, Galaxy S5 Menu Button. And you do have a menu button. On an app that doesn't have a menu button, say like Facebook, this app is obviously not the best constructed app, and it doesn't have a menu button. How you hit the menu button on the Galaxy S5 is just by holding this. And then you have your menu button. So it's just a long press on the multi-screen to get the menu button feature. So it's there. It's just it's kind of hidden. So I think Samsung will do a better job of explaining this too. I think the U.S. versions are actually telling you that now as soon as you hit that button. That hey, you have doing this, or you need to if you need to launch your menu button, just hold it and then you'll launch it. All right, we are getting some more questions now. What is the worst flaw or feature of the Galaxy S5 to you? What is the worst flaw? What is the worst flaw? Because yeah, you can say good things about it all, but what is the worst flaw? If I can improve one thing on the Galaxy S5, one thing for me, for me the one flaw would be the speaker on the back. That would be the one thing that I wish, and it's because I had the Note 3. The Note 3 has a speaker on the bottom. This one has a speaker on the back. Now, I will say, this speaker is louder than any other Samsung speaker has been on any phone. This is the loudest speaker. Let me see if I can play a song for you guys right now, although it's probably not going to sound as good. Let's play it. Oh, I don't have the song downloaded to it. But it is louder. I don't know if you guys can hear it on here, but it is a lot louder than any other speaker. That probably sucked on the mic. Sorry, but yeah, it really does. It really is not the loudest speaker. So, or sorry, it's a loud speaker, but it's just a poor placement. If it would have been on the bottom, it would have been ideal. Now, maybe that would have messed with the water resistance, and that's why Samsung couldn't do it. But yeah, I mean, as you guys saw, I just got the HTC One too. So if there's one thing that yes, I would love for Samsung to do is at least put the speaker on the bottom, if not on the front. And Samsung has done front speakers. And if you guys don't believe me, check out the Galaxy Player 5.2. They had dual front speakers on that device, and it looked awesome. It was like, why isn't this on your phone? Why? And so that's the one thing that I would say is the biggest flaw is that the speakers on the back, if at least would have been on the bottom, I thought that would have been better. Let me see. Next question is from Jason. Jason asks, would it be worth upgrading from the S4? I'm paying month to month, not looking to start a new contract with Verizon. So, I mean, if you are thinking about upgrading from an S4 and S5, you're talking about paying $650 on Verizon if you want to keep month to month and not starting a new contract. That's $650. I mean, that's a lot for a phone regardless. Is it better? Yes. I've already discussed this earlier, that the S5 is better than the S4, and I would say if you're on a 2-year contract, it's worth the upgrade, easily. However, if you're on a month-to-month, that's a $650 investment. I would not be paying $650 every year to upgrade. So that's my best answer. I'm guessing you might be like me and you have their unlimited data, which I do. I still have Verizon Unlimited LG, and that's why I paid for my Note 3 full price. I paid for that full price because I was not letting go of my unlimited data. Now, would I be paying for my Note 3 full price, or would I be paying for the S5 full price from the Note 3? Absolutely not. But I have a family plan, and now I have an upgrade that I can use. So now I'm okay. But yeah, that's the main thing. If you're not trying to start a new 2-year contract, $650 is a lot of money to kind of put down on a 1-year. That if I was planning on paying full for a phone, me personally, I would do it once every 2 years. If I was paying $650 for a phone, I would do it once every 2 years at the soonest. I cannot do it. I cannot justify it mathematically in my head to do it once a year, paying full price for a phone. how impressive is the 4K video recording to you? Honestly, 4K video recording is not that impressive to me, and you know why? Because I don't have a 4K TV. I can't really see it. If you play it back on the phone, it looks the same. So, when is 4K impressive? It's not. It's not 4. I mean, I don't think 4K is that impressive. What I think is impressive is what you call smooth motion on this device. Smooth motion allows you to film at 1080p at 60 frames per second. I have a video, and both the Note 3 and the S5 can do this, but hopefully you guys can see it. It really looks just insanely clear. This is a sample of Samsung's smooth motion video. This is recording at 1080p at 60 frames per second. I don't think my webcam can even show it as good of a quality as this. But smooth motion looks amazing. It's 1080p at 60 frames per second, which the standard recording is 1080p at 30 frames per second. So yes, that looks amazing. 1080p at 60 frames per second looks amazing, and that you can see the visual difference on the smaller screens. So on the Note 3 and on the S5, you can see the difference in the screen when you're playing that. The funny thing is most phones that are older can't even play that correctly. On the S4, it did not play correctly. On any older device, it will not play correctly. So that's the thing. It's very impressive. And the one thing that sucks is YouTube doesn't do 1080p 60 frames per second. Or else I would upload a video and show you guys the difference, because it's a very impressive looking difference. But YouTube does not do 1080p at 60 frames per second. They just don't support the format yet. Once they do, I think that would be a lot better. Alright, Wayne asks, does the octa-core version come with all the features that the Snapdragon has? I believe so. I don't want to confuse you guys because I did say that I have the international version. I have the international version that's the European model. So what that means is I have the Snapdragon 801 rather, but I do not have LTE in the U.S. because of the difference of bands. So I do not have LTE in the U.S., and that's going to be the difference between mine. But as far as I know, the octa-core should have all the same features, but I'm not completely positive on that. So, yes. And just kind of seeing all the comments. Keep asking your questions. I'm trying to answer as many questions as you guys have so I can answer all of them, and we've been doing this for a little while now. Jakeness22 asked, how's the software? Is TouchWiz smooth? Yes, TouchWiz is a lot better. If you didn't catch my earlier comment, TouchWiz is amazing compared to the other Samsung devices out there. This is not the TouchWiz of yesteryear. And, TouchWiz has made a dramatic change. Like, if you remember TouchWiz on the S2 compared to even the S3 and then to the S4, TouchWiz is dramatically different. I mean, TouchWiz on the S2 was one thing that I saw my friends go through. I did not have the S2 because I was on Verizon, so I went to the Galaxy Nexus. But I had what the heck was that? The Droid Charge. Man, TouchWiz on there was slow. It was all these, it was all these things about it. But it was my first 4G phone, so I was happy. But yeah, I mean, TouchWiz has changed dramatically. And it has improved each time. And I would say TouchWiz is much, much better on the S5. I mean, you guys saw me kind of just like move through it. I mean, it really is just a lot better. It doesn't have that delay. It's super quick. And that wasn't, even on the S4, you couldn't move it that quick. On the Note 3, it didn't move that quick. So yes, TouchWiz, I would say, definitely is a lot better. One thing that I've always done on all my phones, and you can see it on my Note 3 right now, every phone I have, I put Nova on there. So this is not your the Note 3 the way it comes. This is not the Note 3 the way it comes. The Note 3 doesn't normally look. Let me turn the brightness down. So the Note 3 doesn't normally look like this. It normally looks like this. And this is not as fast. You see that delay difference comparing to what I just had? Yeah, this is slower. This is much faster. So, and the Note 3 has the hardware for speed, but it doesn't have the software for speed because of TouchWiz is slower on there. but this is fast on its own. I do not feel the need to use Nova yet, at least for the S5, and I don't plan on it in the near future because it's very quick. So because of that, yes, the software is much, much better. But at the same time, full disclaimer, I've never been a fan, or not for a long time, rather. When I had my Galaxy Nexus, I thought stock Android was it. I rooted all my devices to look like stock Android up into the Nexus. Every device I rooted, every device it was better. But here's the thing. After the Galaxy Nexus, once I hit the S3, once I hit the S4, once I hit the, I really discovered that I do like TouchWiz, certain things about TouchWiz, a lot better than the Nexus's devices. And I know that's blasphemy to purists that, are all hail the stock Android, and CyanogenMod and all that kind of stuff, but there are certain things that I like on Samsung more. So, like, one of the easy things that I always point to is this. The fact that I have everything here, and it's not as small. Let's say, like, I'm going to use the HTC real quick just because it has, less of these. So, you have less features here that you can turn on and off. But also, it just makes more sense. One thing I cannot stand about stock Android is that you have to hold something down to turn it off. Whereas on here, you just tap it to turn it on or off. That makes so much more sense. And then if I want to go into the menu, then I hold it down. That makes more sense. And stock Android isn't like that. It's the reverse, which makes no sense to me whatsoever. So that's some of the stuff that can be done. Can my magazine be disabled like blink feed on the M8? Yes. It not only here's a big difference that I've actually already discovered having both the S5 and the M8. So the S5 and the M8 have these two additional things called blink feed and called my magazine. This is the difference. So I'm actually going to show you guys live the difference. So here's the thing with my magazine, okay? My magazine slows down your entire features. You see how that took so much longer? And even like the transitions now, see, it was going so quick a second ago, and now it's not going as quick. And it also stops. You see how I can't go around and around like before? So now, if I disable my magazine by going to the settings button and taking my magazine off, not only do I disable it, but I go around, which I like a lot better. It makes it much better for a user experience. Here's the thing about HTC, though. So, blink feed, same kind of thing, same pretty much stuff on there. This is blink feed. Let me turn the brightness down for you guys. So this is blink feed, right? For one, it also makes it slower. It's not as fast when you have blink feed on. But here's the thing. So I can disable blink feed by just throwing it away, like pretty much everyone does. And I remove it. But here's the thing. I can't go around. That's one thing I can't stand. I want to be able to use it as a carousel to be able to go around, or at least give me the option to. HTC does not give me that, whereas Samsung does once I disable it. So I actually would say not only can my magazine be disabled like blink feed on the M8, but my magazine does a better job when you disable it, because it takes it away, but it also is like, oh, so now that you don't have this, now I can go around. That's something the M8 cannot do, and that's, I think, a big miss on HTC's part. That they were the one that started the carousel. I remember when I got my girl the HTC Flyer, you could spin that thing, and when you spinned it, it went all the way around. It was the coolest thing ever, and everyone thought that was the greatest thing ever when it happened. And now they don't even allow you to spin it. So I would say that that's a big miss on HTC's part. Again, I've only had the HTC One for about a day, so I still have to go through a lot more stuff, obviously, for that. But it's just one thing to note for you guys. So I'm seeing if there's any last questions now. Hopefully I answered a lot of questions for you guys. We've gone about 45 minutes now. So hopefully I did answer a lot of questions that you guys had about the Galaxy S5. Um, Anything else? Any videos you guys want to see with the Galaxy S5? Please leave in the comment section down below too. Looks like we'll be wrapping this up, but if you guys have any more questions, ask it in the comment section down below, and I will try my best to answer them. I do have a episode every week called Android Weekly, where you can get all of your questions answered. All you have to do is email me at this email address right here, asktheandroidguy@gmail.com. Just send in your questions, and I will answer them. It's just that simple. I do this every week, where I answer all of your questions and answer them to the best of my ability. All right, guys. Looks like we will wrap it up. I will refresh the comment section one more time. So if you have a question, this is the time to ask now. And I'm just gonna refresh it one more time. And yep, looks like we're good. All right, thank you guys for watching. This has been RICKY, the Android Guy.